And then what'd he say? And then what you do? Ooh, girl, I would have died.
It is the only food that koalas eat. They have no natural protein.
No way! Stop it! Oh my!
The word marsupial is from the
I know. Yeah. What? Oh, I'm just making some milkshakes. Milkshake.
paws with claws adapted for climbing in the country of Australia.
Watch your show on any TV in your house with Iris, the new HD multi-room DVR from Rev TV. Start watching in one room and pick up right where you left off in another. Call to get Iris in your house today.
The Prime Minister and opposition leader face off as debate on referendum bills heats up. This as 5 PLP MPs butt heads over the controversial bills. The trade union Congress threatens to shut the country down, plus an island administrator abducted. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Bonnie Toot and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, the fate of 4 constitutional referendum bills hangs in the balance as the opposition leader raises issues with those bills and process of constitutional reform. This comes just 2 weeks after Dr. Hubert Minnis pledged the opposition support for those bills. Arcandia Dames was in Parliament for the contentious debate.
A dramatic turn of events in Parliament today as Prime Minister Christie accused opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis of abandoning his initial pledge to fully support the constitutional amendment bills and the process of constitutional reform. However, Minnis said where there is fear and doubt, there will be disaster. He said the opposition cannot support disaster.
Today, the PLP or the government find themselves in a quagmire of web, complete mess, and trying to pull the opposition in with them. A complete quagmire of web. If you listen to me, if you listen to me now, listen now, then this quagmire that and then it's you have a.
Minnis said bills number 2 and 3 can be dealt with through legislative changes. Bill number 2 relates to a Bahamian woman being able to pass her citizenship on to her foreign husband. Bill number 3 would allow an unwed Bahamian man who fathers a child with a foreign woman to pass citizenship on to that child. Minnis also said further consultations are needed on Bill number 4. Now that bill seeks to eliminate discrimination based on sex. Minnis insisted the opposition is committed to gender equality.
If you would recall, Mr. Speaker, even with the last referendum, the former Prime Minister had gotten up and pointed to the Bahamian public and the Prime Minister that he has a commitment letter from the now Prime Minister, who was leader of opposition at that time, and Bernard Doddridge. So it's not unusual. It's not unusual to enter discussion to ensure you get the constitutional change properly. But, Mr. Speaker, you're talking about the heart and soul of a country. There's no room for mistakes.
The Prime Minister said the opposition was fully consulted on these matters.
With respect to the point that the government finds itself in a quagmire, it was never intended to be a quagmire. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to Bill number 4, for example, we understand the passion, the concern about interpretation, the context of what's happening elsewhere in the world. As Prime Minister, I took it upon myself, notwithstanding the government's position, to, with the Commission, meet with colleagues of mine who had strong views, and to reassure them that I would give every opportunity for them to make their point.
Christie also indicated the government is prepared to do what it takes to save these measures.
We're dealing with a Bahamian population that needs to have a proper education. And the leader of the opposition and the Prime Minister of this country, Mr. Speaker, I say it again, we do not have the luxury, and I believe even the right, to be seen to taking different approaches to serious matters.
But Minnis fired back, holding his point on the issue.
I am not prepared to sit here and change the Constitution in such a fashion to encourage or to bring forth total disaster for a future generation. When we prepare today, we prepare for tomorrow.
Leader of Government Business in the House, Dr. Bernard Nottage, said on Friday, and he reiterated Monday night, that without unanimity in the House on these controversial bills, there would be no constitutional referendum come November 6. However, today, before the luncheon suspension, he pledged that on these issues, the government will soldier on. Reporting from the House of Assembly for NB12, I'm Candia Dames.
Discord within the Progressive Liberal Party over the controversial bills was evident today as Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins accused Central and South Eleuthera MP Damian Gomez of misleading the House and trying to scare the Bahamian people. However, they weren't the only two PLP MPs to butt heads over the constitutional amendment bills in Parliament today.
There's no outlaw or outlawing of homosexuality in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Now, if you're intending to scare the Bahamian public, that's one thing, but at least be sincere in what you have to say, because this should be a matter of educating the Bahamian public on the basis of truth and not on the basis of scare tactics.
Amid speculation that there is dissent in the governing party over the constitutional amendment bills, PLP MP Dr. Andre Rollins put one of his own party members on blast today and accused him of misleading the House. Rollins took issue with State Minister for Legal Affairs Damian Gomez, who suggested the Bahamas' economy would be threatened like Uganda if the government includes a provision outlawing same-sex marriages as a constitutional matter.
And I am not sure that the Bahamian people are ready to stand in line at immigration counters in the United States, or to be faced with the loss of jobs when business stops coming.
That's when Rollins rose on a point of order and slammed Gomez.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order. The member for Central and South Eleuthera is misleading the House, and he knows it, and it is wrong. If he wishes, he can elaborate on the matters in relation to Uganda and their interest in outlawing homosexuality. We have done no such thing in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Rollins and Gomez weren't the only two PLP MPs to lock horns over the referendum bills. During his contribution, Marco City MP Greg Moss made it clear he would not be supporting 2 of the 4 constitutional amendment bills, particularly number 2, which would allow Bahamian women to pass on citizenship to their foreign spouses.
My position, Mr. Speaker, is that no one should have a right to citizenship just by marrying a Bahamian citizen. No one. Their children should be citizens. If you marry a foreigner, that foreigner should have the right to work in this country, the right to be with his or her family, and the certainty that their children will be citizens. And after the appropriate time, that foreigner should have the right to apply for citizenship. But our citizenship is not for sale.
But it wasn't the opposition that took issue with Moss's comments, but rather members from his side.
Everybody has to apply for citizenship of the Bahamas. Everyone has to apply. There are rules upon which someone is granted citizenship.
For those persons who think that once this act is passed, once these amendments are agreed to by the people of the Bahamas, if it is agreed to, that these persons can immediately just walk and get citizenship, they are absolutely wrong. And if somebody is telling you that, either they're trying to mislead you or they don't know any better.
Mitchell stood on a point of order 2 more times, and at one point Moss refused to yield.
Are other people in the world listening to this? Please. I won't yield on this one, Mr. Speaker.
Very well.
The Constitution overrides
members on the floor. Members.
And so, Mr.
Members.
Speaker,
members.
I will not yield on this.
The member will not yield.
Will.
Members, can we have silence?
However, Moss stood by his comments and even fired back at Golden Gate's MP Shane Gibson, whom he says should refrain from making certain comments because Gibson is not a lawyer.
He's characterized that as being a statement that would only be made by a person who is trying to mislead or doesn't know what he's talking about.
Doesn't understand it. Doesn't understand it.
Obviously, the point is that people differ. I happen to practice law. And the fact that you differ, or any member, Mr. Speaker, differs with me on that point, I respect their right to differ. But to say I either don't know what I'm speaking or I'm trying to mislead people is a breach of my privilege in this House. And with the greatest respect, we don't need to go there.
In addition to raising issues about Bill number 2, the outspoken Marco City MP says Bill number 1 should be retroactive. That bill seeks to give a child born outside the Bahamas to a Bahamian mother and non-Bahamian father the same automatic right to Bahamian citizenship. He says failure to make it retroactive would leave 41 years of Bahamians behind. Additionally, Ma says he doesn't support Bill number 4, which seeks to end discrimination based on sex. Members of the Constitutional Commission watched from the visitors' gallery as members of Parliament locked horns over those bills. Commission Chairman Sean McQueenie says emerging cracks in the united front mounted by the two parties is a major concern. Simone Davis reports.
After witnessing a heated discussion in the House of Assembly between the Prime Minister and the opposition leader, Chairman of the Constitutional Commission Sean McQueenie says he fears that the process of the referendum is in jeopardy, and this is definitely a cause for concern.
It was indicated by both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition in their respective communications to the House that this exercise would proceed on the basis of bipartisanship, and each leader reiterated that subsequent to those communications. So if in fact that basis for this exercise is now in jeopardy, then the whole exercise is in jeopardy.
During a referendum town hall meeting held last week, McQueenie warned that if there are cracks in the opposition support of the referendum, the entire process would collapse. Prime Minister Christie and Minister of National Security Dr. Bernard Nottage have also suggested that without unanimity on these issues, there would be no referendum come November 6th. McQueenie said in order to get the plans for the referendum back on track, the two parties must meet again and discuss whether there is really support for the referendum. If there isn't, he says they should try to resolve their issues.
I think the parties need to get back in discussion with each other directly and ascertain whether or not there is broad support for the bills. If there isn't, to see whether the differences can be resolved through discussion and dialogue. And the Constitutional Commission is quite ready, able, and willing to help negotiate a resolution of those differences. But you never know in politics whether this is coming from principled philosophical differences or whether there are political forces at work of which we're not aware.
We asked the Commission Chairman if he believes the cracks emerging in the two parties' united position have anything to do with the PLP's strong opposition to the referendum held in 2002 under the Ingram administration. He said it has nothing to do with what happened 12 years ago, but only with the political dynamics in today's government.
No, I think it has more to do with what is happening now. I think there's some, political dynamics at work, frankly, in both parties. And I think what you're seeing is a manifestation of that, really.
McQueenie said if members of the government have concerns about particular bills, it is not too late for changes to be made. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.